Hello UPSC aspirants, hope you are doing well. All those who appeared in this year's prelims examination, hopefully you will be feeling content after going through the examination paper. So GS paper, if we compare it to last 3 years, was quite manageable, or you could say comparatively on moderately difficult side. Otherwise, in last we look at the COVID phase from 2020 to 23, UPSC was getting almost out of hand, especially in prelims stage. The cutoff had dropped drastically from, you could say, 92 to 88, 87, and in last year it was just 75. But hopefully, after going through the paper and gauging response from majority of students who are in touch, they are expecting a score above 100. So you can say this year the paper cutoff is going to be on slightly higher side. Probably there will be a jump of at least 15 to 20 marks at least. So in this video we will just decoding what exactly was paper, how was the sectional distribution of questions. So the section which has dominated this year's prelim is polity section, which makes quite sense, because if you are entering a career in which is related to administration, you need to have sound basics of polity. And more or less the questions were on the scoring side, delimitation commission, on schedules, or what are the procedure regarding money bill, or some specific articles which were related to constitutional amendments. So more or less, if you have prepared this theme thoroughly and were able to link with current affairs, you should not have had much of a problem. Yes, the options were quite close in some questions, and a couple of questions might be disputed in different answer keys, but more or less when if you have done reasonably well in section, you can say that you have made a head start or early inroads. Now the second section which appeared, from which the maximum questions were asked, was environment and ecology section. Once again, we live in era of sustainable development, and this test happens to be a common screening test for Indian Forest Services as well. So basically this section is a constant section, and there have been years when it has dominated, but more or less now it's asked in second or third number. So this year once again it has substantial number of questions were asked. There were 17 questions from this section. Now if we break the question, the pollution theme questions were once again on expected lines. There were a couple of current affair questions also, which is the largest source of SO2, or one related to the indices. And also if we look at the biodiversity part, there were certain questions which were quite in-depth, which only zoology students or people who have taken graduation and have studied environmental sciences would have been in better position to attend. Yes, the themes were more or less in current affairs, just like the cheetah reintroduction, big cat alliance. And this year the interaction in biological community were once again in picture. They asked theme related to correlation or parasitoids, a new theme which is not typically covered in your NCRTs. More or less you can say it was a moderately difficult section, and once again all of the above theme would have been a rescue one in some questions, to be precise. Then the third theme which had maximum number of questions was geography, and I had set A with me, and to begin with, this set gave a glimpse of geography in single sequence. 1 to 15 questions were from geography, and it was a welcome change that the basic themes on mountain ranges, rivers arrangement, map work had substantial number of questions. And yes, there were some concepts related question also on Coriolis force, as well as you can say on layers of atmosphere, and few statements had environmental angle as well, like the carbon dioxide greenhouse effect theme. So more or less the majority of students hopefully would have managed this section quite well if their basics were unexpected. In economy section this year there was a drop. There were just 12 questions, and more or less non-banking financing, corporation, and basic terms like the fertility rate. So it was a mixed bag, some easy concepts, and then related to financial instruments and the corporate social responsibility, which we cover in our ethics as well. So there were governance model theme two which were asked in a precise way. So if you have a sound economic background and you are clear with few current affairs about the syndicate lending or United States default theme, probably you would have managed this section better. But if in case you had a weak economic background, or you have not invested too much in this theme, probably this theme was once again a little tricky for some students. Now coming to science and tech theme, once again it was tied with economy. There were 12 questions, and more or less they had focused on emerging technologies. Like there was straightforward question on metaverse in defense section, which we covered the basic exercise like Mitra Shakti. They had tried to confuse it by interchanging it Sri Lankan exercise with Bangladesh. And then there was a Tejas question on generations of, you could say, fighter jets. We all know only US has mastered the art of 5th generation fighter aircraft, and the MK, you could say, F-22 Raptor, F-35 Lightning are the aircrafts which are 5th generation. The ones they gave in options were 4 or 5, 4.5 generation, right from Rafale to the other ones. Apart from that, the applied part on the neutron energy, nitric acid as well as hydrogel was asked. So yes, a few themes might not have been covered directly in the conventional themes which we cover, but more or less if you would have taken calculated risk, this section could also give you some dividend, especially in 4 or 5 questions. Then coming to the history part, which was a little disappointing this year, because we have seen history being asked from roughly 15 to 20. As such, it is quite exhaustive theme, which transpasses from ancient to medieval to modern to post-independence to world history and art and culture. Even though from post-independence and world history, the questions are never asked in film, they are mains part. Still, a lot of students invest too much energy in covering history, but this year it didn't give them as much dividend as they would have expected. They were just 10 questions and more or less on difficult parameters, because ancient medieval questions were comparatively more, and the typical question on freedom struggle, on Gandhian ideology, they were asked to find. So we can say the history is going through a transition phase, and hopefully in next year it will make a comeback. But if you had relied solely on this topic to score well through your prelims, you would be a little disappointed with this paper. And hope, but the compensatory part was that the conventional art and culture question, which are quite in-depth and difficult to attempt, they were quite minuscule this time. The other thing which you find, if you break up the question, is current affairs, in which we have included the schemes part as well. So some popular schemes which are making headlines were asked, and more or less the current affair theme was a mixed bag, because there were a couple of questions on World Heritage Site, intangible, or which were added in 2023, Mission Sadbhavna, Army Rescue Operation. So these themes were covered quite well in your even class lectures, which we have weekly current affair class as well. So hopefully at least some of the questions you would have find them quite manageable to your liking. So this was all from the current affairs section. The final section was international relations. Some of you might say that we can club that with current affair part, but if you look at specifically related to a couple of questions on map work, which relates to the places which were in news, or few specific themes which they have directly asked regarding in the last section, they can be attributed to international relations. So we can say there were 6 questions from this side, and half of them were quite manageable. So if you are able to do well in couple of sections quite strongly, say it could be a polity for some it could be the environment science combination if you are from the technical background. For humanities background, it could be the geography, polity combination, which can help you sail through. So hopefully if you have done exceptionally well in couple or 3 components and reasonably above average in 2 or 3 sections, because at least one section more or less of every student tends to be weak, so you cannot do much about it, but you need to take precautions since there is 1/3 negative marking. Don't get too obsessed with high number of attempts. Even though at times when the questions are not too tricky, sometimes such dividends are tend to be in favor of some students. So this is it from the paper analysis from Vivek IAS Career Academy. We have just given you a brief overview of the section which were asked in this year's UPSC Prelims. So we hope you make it through the next stage, and in case you are getting a score above 100 kindly compare it with at least 2 or 3 answer keys from different institutes preferably, so that you could have a reasonable benefit of doubt to your liking. But since the question are not too debatable this time, you will find more or less majority of answer keys on in same direction. And if you are getting a score of 95 plus, or you are having a 100 plus score, you should not waste too much time contemplating whether you will make it or not. It's the right time to begin your mains preparation. Even though UPSC of late is you could say delivering results within a record breaking time of 1 week to 10 days, so hopefully you will not have to wait too much whether you have made it or not. So my advice to you would be take a couple of days off, just regroup your energies and prioritize and start your preparation preferably with some essay writing or some art and culture or history thing which you have not conventionally covered, or if you are out of touch with your optional, probably this is the week you should make a proper planning how to go about your optional subject, whether paper 1 is the one you should take on priority or the 2, and go through the last 2 years papers at least, so that your paper should not surprise you. You should be ready for eventuality, because UPSC tends to experiment, because we were expecting a quite difficult paper or some out of box question, but compared to last 3 years, this is the paper which used to come in, you could say, 2015 to 2020 era, and the cut scores used to be on higher side. So that would be you could say some blessing for you at the time, because at these time of paper, the serious candidates who are preparing or toiling hard for the exam for years tend to be at the advantage. Yes, the newcomers might not find this paper to their liking, because at times in 1 year it's difficult to have a hold on all GS themes on priority. So if you are having any problem related to preparation, feel free to connect, because these are the times when you have to make an important call whether you are fit enough for this examination journey, or you need to invest more time or energy in this preparation. But broad guidelines are common for everyone. Just invest in your mains answer writing practice for next 3 or 4 months, irrespective of your result. Hopefully, in the larger scheme of things, it will definitely pay you off sooner or later. So thank you very much. I know it has been a long day for all of you, but it has been same for us as well. So all the best for all your futures.